News. Trump just put the tariffs on pause for 90 days. He has folded after China retaliated and did about an 84% raise on their tariffs. He had to fold, man, because everything comes from China. So now we have it. We got 90 days. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind that today, Wednesday, what is today's date? I know it was like the 9th. Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 was the day that American citizens were supposed to be paying a pretty much 133% upcharge on all of our goods and services. It was supposed to be today. Trump folded, y'all. He folded. Breaking news. This is breaking news. Let's go. Minutes ago. Let's go.
Day pause. The president here announcing a 90-day pause on tariffs, though it's not clear specifically which countries this pause is going to apply to. The Dow right now shooting up over 2,000 points. Look at that. As this announcement comes through, a giant spike in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This is important as part of the messaging around this post. The president saying that this is based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called the U.S. and try to work out deals with the administration and not try to retaliate for his tariffs. Notably, though, the president is raising the tariff applied to China from the United States to 125% effective immediately. So this pause applies to other countries, not China.
That's right. Wow. So, let me get this right. Let me stand corrected. I'm thinking Trump paused the tariffs because China retaliated. But he paused the tariffs for everybody else but China. So how will that affect the American citizens? Are we still going to be dealing with, anything from China being extremely expensive? I don't know. That's what it looks like. But let's go.
Right, a 90-day pause on new tariffs except for China, which again goes to 125%, and the markets obviously ebullient they are as they are hearing this news. Let's go to Jeff Zeleny. He is live for us at the White House. This is what they had been hoping for, the markets. They actually kind of imagined it the other day and had a little bit of a jump into positive territory. This is the announcement from the president, Jeff.
Well, Brianna, that was certainly a test run, but certainly not an intended one to see the markets go up when there was a false report of a pause. But now we are hearing from the president for the first time during this escalating trade war, saying that he is putting a 90-day pause.
So pausing the tariffs just brought the market up. It brought the market back up. So he paused the tariffs, and now we got to the next 90 days to see what's going to really take place. This is breaking news fresh off the press. Let's go.
You can just see to the right of our screen there what the markets are doing with this. From a policy standpoint, it is a bit more murky. The White House has not filled in any details of this, but we are getting this from the president on social media, as you were reading there. And he is explaining it as adding more to the China tariff pot, which is really growing day by day here, adding another tariff to China, even as he is praising the countries who he said have not retaliated. And those, of course, are the countries who are lining up to have discussions with the Treasury Secretary, with the White House, with the administration on trying to renegotiate.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Today a lot of us thought that increase, that 180% increase on all our goods and services was going to skyrocket. And from what it looks like right now is, only China tariffs. They're going back and forth, right? I guess what that's going to do essentially is stop us from buying anything that's made in China if the price is absolutely ridiculous. But that counts. That's a lot of electronics.
Donald Trump has just made
Here we go. This is breaking news, man. I gotta talk about this because, this means a lot right now, and we got a grace period to get it right. Let's go. Let's go.
Pretty significant post on Truth Social. I'm just going to read the whole thing.
Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including departments of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, that those countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated in any way, shape, or form against the United States.
Trump is something else, bro. So what he did essentially was he came on the scene like a bully, right? And he was saying who's going to retaliate, who's going to jump out and try to oppose what he's doing, because whoever that is, that's who I'm going to single out. I mean, I'm not going to hold y'all. Trump pulled the G move, bro. You know what I'm saying? In hindsight, he pulled the G move. He really did. Now, this is interesting how he went about this. Look, like I said, I go right down the middle with this stuff. When I see Trump doing something wrong, I'm going to talk about it. When I see something right, I'm going to talk about it. I'm pretty well versed in some of this stuff, but I'm getting the picture here. He put a pause on it, and in 90 days, each country that he's negotiating with, I'm pretty sure they're going to come up with something that will essentially be beneficial to America in the long run when it comes to creating jobs. I'm going to have to agree that that's what will happen. But nonetheless, speaking right now, today, April 9th, Wednesday, 2025, everything is still extremely expensive. The price of living is still off the chain. Everything is still going downhill. And if in 90 days they still have these tariffs, we still going to have to deal with the increase, paying more for at least a time period. And I don't think the American citizens are ready for that or expected that. But anyway, let's go.
Key line. I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Do you see, Ryan Nobles, the hand of any pressure of folks on the Hill where you are in this announcement?
Listen, Chris, there's definitely a lot of angst up here on Capitol Hill about the form and fashion in which these tariffs have been delivered. But we have seen Republicans at least publicly tell us that they're willing to give the president some time to see this through. But privately behind the scenes, we know that they are getting phone calls from constituents that are really worried about their 401ks. They're getting calls from constituents who own small businesses who are
Exactly. People's 401k was about to go down the toilet today. You know what I'm saying? Today it was going to get started. Trump folded. He's like, man, I can't do that.
Worried about the impacts of these tariffs. The volume of this concern just seems to be increasing by the day. So that message, we are told, is being relayed to the White House with a degree of urgency. And there was some expectation that this entire process was, had the opportunity to shift on a dime at any moment, which is
exactly. So, they were getting word at the White House like, yo, there's going to be hundreds and thousands, maybe even millions of people losing their 401k on Wednesday. Like, you got to do something. Like, Trump strikes me as a stubborn guy, bro. Like, people were telling him this probably all along. And, it dawned on him today, the day of the implementation of the tariffs, the day of, he reneged, he folded. It's like, all right, I'm not finna do that. Y'all, for now, your 401ks are intact. But look, let me say this. What this should show you all, right, brothers and sisters, is that there is no certainty here. You know, you have to be able to put things in your own basket. You're gonna have to be able to get things that are tangible. You're gonna have to be able to move your money a certain way, and you're gonna have to be wise because with these leaders we have, you never know what they're gonna do, and you don't want your fate in their hands. You know what I'm saying? And that goes in life in general. You do not want your fate in somebody else's hands. Let's go.
It appears it has in this regard. So, while Donald Trump has said that he was going to see this through long term, anything can change at any given moment. And as we see the markets reacting, I talked to one senator today who said that with as simple as a Truth Social post, Donald Trump could send the markets back into green territory.
Yo, Donald Trump has a lot of power, bro. With just a damn tweet. Or actually it was on Truth Social. And on Truth Social, like, they're doing some different things that you've never seen done in the White House. They're using a social media apparatus to literally pass policies. You know, they have a whole voting process on there. There's more inclusion involved when it comes to the American citizens. There's more access, rather, to policy making, all from your fingertips. And to me, that's very different. But it just goes to show you what direction the world is going in, right? Technology and these phones and everything. That's how everything gonna be done. I don't even believe people gonna be going to the voting polls anymore in the future if we don't fall under a dictatorship. If Trump is not just a dictator, right? I don't personally believe that people are going to be going to the voting polls. It'll be all done from your home, from some type of device. That's just my thoughts on it, but let's go.
And that's exactly what we see happening here. That volatility, though, cuts both ways. And, we'll have to see how congressional Republicans feel about not having a very specific long-term strategy with an end game. That's what we continue to hear over and over from congressional Republicans. Mr. President, you have the ability and the right to see your economic vision forward, but you need to give us some guidance as to how you get to the end of this. How does this plane land? And a lot of the angst, I think, from congressional.
Somebody in the chat said markets are about to rocket like never before. Just watch. I agree. They're going to skyrocket for the next 90 days. I'm telling you. The market is going to skyrocket for the next 90 days. Trump pulled a gank move. He pulled a G move. I mean, this is wild, man. I don't know what's happening here exactly, but it looked like Trump is playing games with the public as well as world leaders. Like that man on one. He on one. This is kind of like a dub for Trump. You know what I'm saying? A dub is a dub. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sit up here in front. Yeah, this is market manipulation at its finest. When you talk about a savvy businessman, he pulled a savvy move. It is what it is. Yo, I'm not a Trump supporter. I go right down the middle, bro. But what he pulled off was interesting. It was interesting. Somebody said savvy, it's illegal. Man, America's illegal. Everything here is business, cutthroat business. It is what it is. He played the game.
Republicans comes from that idea that they just seem to be shooting from the hip, and there's not a long-term strategy as to how to bring this all in to one specific strategy that is a long-term economic benefit to the United States, Chris.
Right.
Now, I do believe that at the end of all this, we're going to suffer. This economy will suffer at the end because that's prophecy. That's prophecy. But what they're doing right now is they playing some kind of games where the rich is going to eat. The rich is going to eat, and the deal is still to get rid of the middle class.
Nobles, thank you. And take a look at the Dow, at least starting to respond. all the way coming up already. I want to bring back in Neil Irwin, chief economic correspondent for Axios, NBC.
Somebody said, are you praising him for it? No, I'm not praising Trump for nothing. I'm just saying that he manipulated the stock market. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Let me assess this, because I don't want no confusion over here, right? People getting confused in the chat. I'm not praising him for it. I'm just saying that he's playing the game. They're all vipers, including Trump. They're all playing the game. Look, at the end of all of this, we're still going to have to suffer. The American people and the economy will still suffer. We're in trillions of dollars worth of debt. You got to understand how the real full picture of this. You got BRICS out here trying to get their own currency. America's hated. Trump tried to bully these people, right? But the way he's playing the game on the world stage, the way he's playing is gangster. The way he's playing the game, and now, and still, we still in hot water. Let me explain this. We're still in hot water because Trump is still playing games with China. He's going back and forth. They're going back and forth, retaliating with each other. So if I'm speaking in regards to how he's playing on the world stage, yes, it's a gangster play. Somebody says, bro, do you have a degree? No, but you over here still watching. I don't need a degree to see what's happening on the world stage. Somebody said, what solution do you have? You need to invest in farmland, agriculture, network with families who are like-minded, because America's going down. No matter how you look at it, America is going down, and and Trump is going to come in and make a lot of enemies in the process. So you want to know what my answer is? My answer is start to get on some land, network with some families, start your own business, and deal with your peoples. And stop spending money like crazy. Stop spending money trying to stunt and be seen, and start buying things that you can use in case of a collapse. That's what my advice is. That's the solution. That's the only solution. Now, I'm just covering the news right now, and I think it's funny how he dealt with this. I'm not pro-Trump. I don't rock with none of these people, right? But he won. He played a game and he won this time. He did some shady business stuff, right? And he won. He got the world power sitting at the table. He did some American stuff, some colonization stuff. He tried to bully them. What he did was he tried to bully them, right? And he seen who fought back just to see who his enemy is. That's what Trump did.
Senior White House correspondent Garrett Hake and NBC senior business correspondent.
Let me make this clear. You don't make it in the office of president unless you do some dirty, shady, cutthroat, knifing. You don't get in the White House unless you own one. Not in this day and age. Yeah, somebody said it. Bree needs a degree to have an opinion. Exactly. Let's go.
Seeing Romans, talk about what we're seeing on the Dow and talk about this announcement by the president. Well, that's a big move in the Dow. 6% in one move is a lot. We're back above 40,000. Remember, we were at 42,200 or so just a few days ago when this whole tariff tantrum started, when the president and the counterparties started firing back and forth each other. Look, this is the president saying in his Truth Social post that the 75 countries who came up to him and kissed his, as you know, what he said yesterday, that he's going to give them a break for 90 days while they work through all of these things. China, though, he's really putting the screws to China and actually adding to the amount, the tariff amount on China. So talking about saying that China has showed.
Man, we get most of our products from China, bro. We're about to go through some. We're not out hot water because we dealing with China, bro. Everything we get, look at it right now. Look at everything you got in your house right now. It's made in China. And this is who we want to go back and forth with. And I personally believe when America falls, China is going to be the next superpower. That's what I believe. When America falls, China will be the next superpower. It is what it is.
The lack of respect to the world's market. So he's picking 75 countries. They'll continue to work.
Somebody says, stop defending China. They're killing Christians out there, and you'll go to jail in China for having a Bible. I'm not defending China. Where did you get that from? Just because I said they'll be the world power and we get everything from China don't mean I'm defending China. Like, come on, man. And for the person that said you need a degree, you don't need a degree to have common sense and look at what's going on in the world. But let's go.
Work with. Clearly, Wall Street likes the sound of that. They don't love the trade war.
What do we, Garrett, to make of this decision by the president and the timing of it?
Well, look, it's an extraordinary reversal from the president, who's been saying for days he wouldn't do exactly this. But he's been facing a ton of pressure from both the markets and from Republicans.
That's right. He facing pressure. Trump folded, y'all. He getting too many emails. He getting too many, notifications from his Republican constituents. And he said, you know what? I fold. I yield. 90 days, he put them tariffs on pause. Breaking news. Let's go.
To target these tariffs in a more structured way, in a way that they can defend. And I think this will give those elected Republicans exactly what they asked for. I think there's much more appetite on the Hill, as Ryan was alluding to.
I'm going to respond to Nia TV Lifestyle. She says, no country is going to do anybody dirty because at the end of the day, they all need each other to function. To a degree, you're correct. But there's always the propensity for absolute power to corrupt. There's always a chance where somebody is going to go against the grain. This is why you're looking at the Iranian war coming to fruition. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand that anytime you put people in power who get egos, anything can happen. That's why Trump was talking about nuclear warfare. This is real life we living in. People don't always do what they should do because it's a need there. You know what I'm saying? It works like this. America is like either you're going to get down or lay down, but everybody ain't fitting to lay down. Let's go.
Have a more direct trade confrontation with China, who Secretary Bessent was saying even this morning is the worst offender when it comes to unfair trade practices. But to let some of these other countries, many of whom we have trade treaties with or trade deals with, or including some negotiated by President Trump, essentially off the hook, and to not have a global trade war on.
Let's see. C. Cruz says, Biden laid down for 4 years. This is what it feels like to stand up. I mean, if you mean, going to war with China on trade, if you think that's standing up and, telling the American citizens that when today came, right, we were going to have to pay an increase on all goods when we are already struggling. When you tell the American citizens a recession is coming because of what you're doing on the world stage, and people sitting back thinking about it, trying to figure out how they can move things around, but all in all, you just playing a game with the public. That's something. That if you call that standing up, I call it stock market manipulation. I call it a whole game. I call it a whole game being played, right? But let's go.
On all fronts at all times with allies and adversaries alike. Clearly, the market likes it. Congressional Republicans, even I think some congressional Democrats will probably applaud this. They see China as kind of a global trade cheater in some ways, too. So focusing more narrowly on that, I think will be perceived as a victory. But the president, had been very clear that, he wasn't going to take this kind of step. Remember, the big picture reasoning for these tariffs is to reshore manufacturing from all over the globe to essentially rebuild America's industrial base.
Now, I want to inform you, our industrial base will not be the same anymore. It's going to be about artificial intelligence. They took that $500 billion and put it towards AI. So we're not going to have a new industrial revolution. It's going to be an artificial revolution. And all the jobs that's going to be available going to be you fixing robots, dealing with robot parts, dealing with smart vehicle parts. There's going to be a lot of people working, doing those kind of jobs in America in the near future. So what they're doing right now is using the people once again to replace people. And somebody said egg prices are down near me. Oh man, I wish they were down near me. I spent $10 for some eggs yesterday. 12 eggs was $10. And I eat 12 eggs in one sitting damn near. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
I'm not sure that targeting just China and a 90-day pause will do that. And it certainly adds to the question of uncertainty that has roiled the markets and political leaders around the world. If the president has said for the last week that he wouldn't engage in a move quite like this, then he does so in the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday. What will he do on Thursday or Friday or after the markets close, right? So a huge market move from a social media post. We do, by the way, think it's likely we will see and hear from.
That's right. Somebody in the chat said you can get eggs for free. All you got to do is get some chickens. That's right. All you need is some land, some chickens, and you can get the eggs. You know what I'm saying? And I don't understand how we got, well, basically, I get it. You got bird flu, you got all this other stuff going on. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's go.
From the president in the next hour or so. He is on his schedule signing some executive orders this afternoon. He's also meeting with NASCAR champions, or racing car champions, I think not just NASCAR, a visual event that will be ripe for pun and analogy as we see the stock market really begin to take off here. But I think we'll hear from the president more fulsomely on the decision making behind this move today, hopefully within the next hour. Again, while the markets are still open, something the investors may well enjoy as well.
Christine, I'm told you have to run, but you wanted to make a point about this 10%
I'm looking
effective.
at the end. I've authorized a 90-day pause. That's what Wall Street really, really loves here is the pause there. And a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%. Remember, there was...
Now, let's evaluate what Trump posted on Truth Social. It says, based on the lack of respect that China has showed the world's market, I am hereby raising a tariff charge to China by the United States of America to 125%. Sheesh, that's diabolical. That's nasty work right there. Effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the day of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Conversely, and based on that fact, on the fact that more than 75 countries have called representatives of the United States, including the Department of Commerce, Treasury, and the USTR, to negotiate a solution to the subjects being discussed relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs, and that these countries have not, at my strong suggestion, retaliated anyway. So it's like, yo, China retaliated. So let's play. Let's go to let's raise up tariffs here. And guess what? Guess what? China. I don't think Trump understands that China gonna be the next superpower, bro. When America finally collapses, which it will, and you can feel how you feel about it. You know, one man ain't gonna get no office and change what's been going on in this country for forever, right? But you know, I think China will be the next ones to rise up, and that's going to be the next world superpower. You heard it over here at New Breed Global Truth, right? I know some people are upset. I know you got the American spirit up in you. I know you're praying for America. I get it. But look, they did my people dirty. So it is what it is. They haven't came up with a comprehensive plan for our people. So I don't give a F what goes on. Until they start giving our people what we deserve, I don't care. I just got my popcorn and I'm watching and I'm moving accordingly. That's just what it is on this side. You know what I'm saying? This is how we get down. We don't care about what they got going on. Let's go.
All of that discussion about just how they figured out 46% for one country, 43 for another, 20 this and that. And there were a lot of questions about the formula, just how exactly they got to that. It looks like they're lowering all of those to 10% for right now. So it's that same reciprocal tariff. And then going through. From there, they'll do the negotiations.
No, thank you for that. Neil, let me ask you for your take on this. And I think it's worth pointing out, we don't know, and maybe we'll hear from the president later today about why he decided to make this decision. He at least says
We know why he folded. He's folded. He knew that, he couldn't do that, man. You can't just slap that on all of those people. And he did that because he knew what it would do to the stock market. He knew it was just going to go right back up and it was going to skyrocket. And guess what? He probably got trade and investments. Man, I'm telling you, this is diabolical, bro. That man Trump, he folded. He might have been bluffing the whole time, bro. He playing poker, bro. He might have been bluffing the whole time, though. And then when it came to the day of, he's seeing who's who. And then he probably got trades in some of the places that rocketed. So now he done just got more rich. Yo, that's some nasty work. Bro, that's some nasty work. That's some real business savvy behavior right there.
at the top of this that he's been getting a lot of calls from people talking about, different things. He had sort of hinted at that yesterday, and last night talked about getting his arse kicked. But also the S&P 500 was nearing a bear market. There was all the political pressure. How do you view this statement from the president?
Yeah, look, it's obviously a relief rally.
Somebody said that's the MAGA way. Cause chaos and take money. Sheesh.
For markets, there's a lot of relief if you're an importer who are looking.
Grace Hill said he tried to write a check his ass couldn't cash. Man, I mean, that could be it too.
At 46% from Vietnam or some of these numbers in the near future. That said, look.
Yeah, somebody said y'all confusing MAGA with the Democrats. Yeah, the Democrats, man, they worse. They are worse. They just do it more underhanded.
First of all, keeping the 10% baseline reciprocal tariff in place for the entire world, that's 4 times what the pre-January tariff level was on average. So that's still a very large tariff relative to modern U.S. experience. And 100 and whatever percent we're on now for China. Look, China.
Man, you know what? Devontae said something very key. He said, it's sad. Yes, I do feel like this country is a country or a corporation. Shaking my head. Yo, America is a corporation. America is not a country. America is a corporate entity. It is a merchant hub. America is not a country anymore, bro. It is a place where people come to wax abundant off of America's delicacies, and then they go back home. You know what I'm saying? The irony of it is you got Trump here talking about how people been getting over on America. Look, America's done already. That's why they got a businessman running it, because it's not a business. It's not a country. It's a business. America's a business. Straight up. We outsource everything. It just is what it is. There's no unity in this country. America's divided. Somebody said, you is making money over this. Pause is what you need to ask. What? Let's go.
China is a major trade partner. We get a ton of imports from China, a ton of consumer goods. That's going to bite if that stays in place. And then you get to the negotiations. All right, so we're doing a 90-day pause to negotiate with these 50 or 75 countries that want to come to the table to make a deal. How does that actually work? That's a lot of different countries. The U.S. has not laid out specific asks. Remember, they did this kind of crude arithmetic, this crude.
Yeah, because I think after the 90 days, they're not going to go with the tariffs. And this is what this guy's talking about. He's like, how are they going to how did he expect this to happen within this time frame anyway? Because y'all haven't really sat down and had any discussions. It was just kind of blanket statements and nothing was really on the table, right?
to make a deal. How does that actually work? That's a lot of different countries. The U.S. has not laid out specific asks. Remember, they did this kind of crude arithmetic, this crude formula to come up with the reciprocal tariffs to begin with. So it's not like we have a list of, oh, we want this on non-tariff barriers, this tax on this or that. There's not a specific list that the U.S. is starting with to negotiate from. So how any kind of productive negotiations happen in the next 90 days with all these different countries at once, I'm a little skeptical of. That said, for good reason, there's a big relief rally on Wall Street right now because the worst outcomes of everything getting more expensive all at once seems to be off the table for at least 90 days.
So yeah, man, 90 days. We got 90 days, y'all. Things are not gonna get expensive all at once. We got 90 days before all the countries come to the table and do what they're gonna do. I don't think he's gonna do the tariffs no more, honestly. But if he does, I'll be surprised. And I believe that he was bluffing. Trump was bluffing. This was a gank move, a business move. He played the people on the world stage to try to usurp some authority over people, right? And that's what happened. Somebody said, I appreciate what you do, New Breed. Somebody said, F what others say. Much love to you, brother. Salute, all praises to the Most High, man. Thank you. Somebody said he's not going to drop the bag, man. It was a bluff. I believe it was a bluff. Somebody said they're going to come to the table and say, all right, time to take away the cash. They all in cahoots. Hey, we are going to have a one world digital currency. Over here, when we discuss politics, we're just going off face value what's going on, but we like to go right down the middle. And we weigh everything through the parameters of the Bible. I'm a Bible believer, and I know that there's going to be a mark of the beast system. I know there's going to be digital currency. I know prophetically America's going to collapse. I know there's going to be another world power coming, to the scene at some point. And, we just talk about these things over here because we like to be very vigilant. We're watchmen. We discuss politics. If you're new to the platform, if y'all watching me for the first time right now, let me just say this. On this platform here, we discuss politics. We discuss spiritual warfare. It's one of this platform here is one of the most vast channels, meaning it's multi-layered, multifaceted. We touch on all type of topics. Now, you got to make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if, also double tap the screen so you can like it. But you're going to get a plethora of conversations. You're going to get current events. You're going to get everything. You know what I'm saying? We don't just talk about one thing, man. From day to day, we talk about everything on this side. A lot of uncomfortable truths. A lot of things that people don't want to discuss. We bring it out over here. Somebody says, yep. And then you get that spiritual voltage that you sign up for as well. Sharita says, I just subscribed. You're doing a fantastic job. Absolutely. I'm glad you subscribed. And make sure y'all turn those notifications on and click on that bell and click that you would like to receive all your notifications, right? So you can make sure you can stay up to date. Now, I got more material coming. There's a lot going on in the news right now. Man, we got to talk about it, y'all. So stay tuned. Turn the post notification bell on. Hey, check back with y'all. Y'all be blessed out here. Peace.